Alien girl literally hypnotizes the human to use him as her toy and satisfy her desires. The metallic corridors of the Stellar Enforcement Division's outpost on Mars gleamed under the harsh artificial lighting as Commander Elijah Steele made his final rounds. His muscular frame, perfectly outlined by his form-fitting gray and black tactical suit, cast long shadows as he moved with practiced precision through the facility. The short-trimmed beard and mustache framing his strong jawline added to his commanding presence, while his tousled brown hair gave him a roguish charm that had earned him quite a reputation among both humans and alien species. "Another quiet night," he muttered to himself, checking his wrist computer. The red planet's surface was visible through the reinforced windows, its rusty landscape stretching endlessly under the stars. The outpost, usually bustling with activity during the day cycle, was nearly deserted at this hour. The security alert came without warning. "Unidentified vessel detected in restricted airspace," the AI's voice echoed through the corridor. "Signature matches no known configuration." Elijah's training kicked in instantly. Computer, full scan, track trajectory, and a brilliant flash of light filled his vision, and the familiar corridors of the outpost dissolved around him. When his eyes adjusted, he found himself in a chamber unlike anything he'd ever seen. The walls seemed to pulse with an organic luminescence, casting everything in a soft, ethereal glow. "Welcome aboard, Commander Steele," a melodious voice purred from behind him. He spun around, his hand instinctively reaching for his sidearm, which he realized with a jolt of alarm was no longer there. What he saw made him freeze in his tracks. Before him stood the most exotic creature he'd ever encountered. Her skin was a pale, mesmerizing shade of green that seemed to shimmer in the ambient light. Bright pink eyes regarded him with unmistakable interest, matching her flowing hair that cascaded down her shoulders like liquid rose quartz. The organic crest adorning her head resembled a delicate crown, marking her as something entirely alien yet undeniably beautiful. Her attire, if it could even be called that, left little to the imagination. The black bodysuit she wore was more like strategic strips of material, covering only what was absolutely necessary while leaving vast expanses of green skin exposed. "I've been watching you for quite some time, Commander," she said, taking a step closer. Her movements were fluid, almost hypnotic. "I am Celia, Nix, and you are now my guest." Elijah maintained his defensive stance, though he couldn't help but notice how her hips swayed as she approached. "That's a funny way of saying prisoner. You do realize kidnapping an SED commander is an act of war." She laughed, the sound like crystal wind chimes in a breeze. "Oh, my dear Commander, I have no interest in war. My interests are far more personal." Her pink eyes began to glow with an intense inner light. Elijah felt his consciousness beginning to slip, his thoughts becoming fuzzy around the edges. "What are you doing?" he managed to say before everything went soft and warm. "Shh," Celia whispered, now close enough that he could feel her breath on his neck. "Just relax and let me take care of everything." The last thing Elijah registered before surrendering to the hypnotic influence was the curve of her smile and the thought that he really should be more concerned about this situation than he was. The hypnotic haze enveloped Elijah like a warm blanket, but something peculiar was happening. Instead of complete submission, his consciousness seemed to float in a strange twilight state. He was aware of everything: Celia's touch, her intoxicating presence, the soft hum of her ship, yet felt delightfully detached from it all. Through this peculiar mental fog, he observed their encounter with an almost clinical fascination. His body responded to her, while his mind maintained a surprising clarity. It was like watching himself from a distance, while simultaneously experiencing every sensation. "Fascinating," Celia's melodious voice cut through his divided consciousness. "You're different from the others. Your mind, it's resisting me, yet embracing me at the same time." Elijah felt her psychic grip faltering, like a radio signal breaking up. "Maybe your powers aren't as strong as you thought," he managed to say, his voice carrying a hint of amusement despite the situation. Her pink eyes widened in surprise. "You shouldn't be able to speak coherently at all." She traced a finger along his jaw, sending shivers down his spine. "What are you, Commander Steele?" The hypnotic influence suddenly collapsed completely, leaving Elijah fully aware, but surprisingly unperturbed. He found himself lounging on what appeared to be a bioorganic couch, with Celia perched beside him, studying him with intense curiosity. "Just your average human," he replied with a roguish grin, making no move to change their intimate positioning. "Though I have to say, your method of first contact leaves something to be desired." Celia's musical laugh filled the chamber. "Oh? You seemed quite appreciative of my methods a moment ago." "That was the hypnosis talking," he retorted, though they both knew it wasn't entirely true. "Was it?" She leaned closer, her pink hair brushing against his chest. "Your resistance to my influence suggests otherwise. You were partially conscious the entire time, weren't you?" Elijah shifted, maintaining his facade of annoyance, despite the smile tugging at his lips. "Which makes what you did even more presumptuous. You can't just pluck people from their posts for your personal entertainment." "Can't I?" Her green fingers traced patterns on his tactical suit. "Your species fascinates me, Commander. Such strength, such resilience. Most beings succumb completely to my influence, becoming mindless puppets. But you?" She bit her lower lip. "You maintained your essence, your personality, even under my strongest compulsion. Is that why you chose me? To satisfy your scientific curiosity?" "Among other things," she purred, her eyes glowing softly. "Though I must admit, the experiment yielded unexpected results. I didn't anticipate finding you so intriguing." Elijah caught her wandering hand, holding it firmly. "And I didn't expect to find my kidnapper so charming, yet here we are." "Kidnapper? Such an ugly word." Celia pouted playfully. "I prefer to think of it as an aggressive recruitment strategy." "For what purpose, exactly?" She stood gracefully, her revealing attire catching the bioluminescent light. "Would you believe me if I said companionship? My species is naturally solitary, but something about humans draws us. Your emotions are so raw, so powerful, yet you maintain such control. It's attractive. So you decided to hypnotize me instead of, oh, I don't know, asking me out for coffee." "Coffee?" She tilted her head. "Ah, the bitter stimulant beverage. How mundane. I wanted to experience you at your most authentic, without human social constraints." Elijah stood as well, towering over her slight frame. "And what did you learn?" "That even under hypnotic influence, you remain uniquely, frustratingly human. Your mind fought to maintain control while your body surrendered to pleasure. It was, unexpected, enlightening." "Glad I could contribute to your research," he said dryly, though his eyes sparkled with amusement. "No, oh, the research is far from complete," Celia responded, trailing a finger down his chest. "There's so much more to explore." "Without the hypnosis this time," Elijah stated firmly. "Without the hypnosis," she agreed, then added with a mischievous smile, "unless you ask for it." He couldn't help but laugh. "You're incorrigible." Another fascinating human word. Your language has so many delightful ways to express disapproval while actually conveying attraction. "Who says I'm attracted?" Celia's knowing smile was answer enough. "Your heart rate increases when I'm near, your pupils dilate, your skin flushes slightly, and that's just the physical responses I can detect without my powers." "Maybe that's just anger at being abducted." "Is it?" She stepped closer, her body barely touching his. "Shall we test that theory?" The ship's warning klaxon shattered their intimate moment, bathing the organic chamber in pulsing red light. Celia's playful expression instantly transformed into one of concern as she glanced at a holographic display materializing from her wrist device. "Proximity alert," she announced, her pink eyes narrowing. "A Drachnid warship just dropped out of hyperspace. They're scanning us." Elijah's military training kicked in. "Drachnid? I thought they never ventured this far into human space." "They don't," Celia replied, her fingers dancing through the holographic interface. "Unless they're hunting something, or someone." Their eyes met, understanding passing between them. "You're their target," Elijah stated rather than asked. "My species, the Lumini, have a complicated relationship with the Drachnids." Celia's organic crest flickered with bioluminescent patterns. "They consider our psychic abilities a threat to their empire." The ship shuddered as the first warning shot passed nearby. Elijah steadied himself against a wall, noticing how it pulsed beneath his touch like a living thing. "Your ship, it's biomechanical?" "Semi-sentient," Celia confirmed, moving to what appeared to be a control nexus. But she's not designed for combat. The Drachnids know this. They're toying with us. Elijah joined her at the controls, studying the alien interface. Then let's give them something they don't expect. A human perspective on tactical warfare. Celia's lips curved into an appreciative smile. I knew there was a reason I chose you, Commander. She pressed her body against his back, her hands sliding over his to guide them to specific control points. The neural interface requires skin contact. Let me show you. The moment their fingers connected, Elijah felt the ship's consciousness merge with his own. It was an intimate fusion of minds, his tactical knowledge, Celia's understanding of the ship's capabilities, and the vessel's own awareness, creating a perfect trinity. This is, he breathed, overwhelmed by the sensation. Incredible, isn't it? Celia's voice was husky in his ear. The ultimate form of connection. No barriers, no secrets, just pure focus. Welchers, Elijah interrupted, though his body was hyper-aware of her presence. Drachnid ship at 2 o'clock. Together, they guided the ship through a series of impossible maneuvers. The biomechanical vessel responded to their combined will with fluid grace, anticipating their intentions before they fully formed. The Drachnid warship, despite its superior firepower, couldn't match their perfect synchronization. They're charging their main cannon, Celia warned, her breath hot against Elijah's neck. Perfect, he grinned. Your ship can detect quantum fluctuations? Of course, but... Oh, Celia's eyes widened as she caught his plan through their shared neural link. That's brilliant and incredibly reckless. That's humanity for you, Elijah winked. Ready. Their ship dove straight toward the Drachnid vessel, just as it fired its quantum cannon. At the last possible moment, they executed a barrel roll that would have been impossible for any conventional spacecraft. The quantum beam passed through the space they'd occupied microseconds before, creating a temporary dimensional rift, exactly what Elijah had anticipated. Now, he commanded. Celia didn't hesitate. Their ship slipped through the rift moments before it collapsed, reappearing behind the Drachnid warship's shields. A precise burst of energy to their propulsion system left the larger vessel dead in space. That was... Celia's voice trailed off as the neural link faded, leaving them both breathless and trembling from the intensity of their shared experience. Impossible? Elijah suggested, turning to face her. I'm starting to think that word doesn't apply when we're together. The adrenaline of battle, combined with the lingering intimacy of the neural link, created an electric tension between them. Celia's pink eyes glowed with an intensity that had nothing to do with her hypnotic abilities. I've never... She started, then corrected herself. No one has ever merged with a ship's consciousness so perfectly on their first try. You humans truly are remarkable. We're full of surprises, Elijah replied, his hands finding her waist. Speaking of which, the kiss that followed was inevitable, a natural culmination of the trust and connection they just shared. It was different from their earlier encounter. This time, there was no hypnosis, no power play, just raw, genuine passion. When they finally parted, Celia's bioluminescent patterns were pulsing rapidly. The Drachnids will send reinforcements, she whispered against his lips. How long do we have? Hours? Maybe less? Her fingers traced the contours of his tactical suit. We should probably plan our next move. Probably, Elijah agreed, pulling her closer. But first, the ship's ambient lighting dimmed automatically, creating a cocoon of privacy around them as they lost themselves in each other. This time without any supernatural influence, just pure, unrestrained desire. In the aftermath of their passionate encounter, Elijah and Celia lay entwined in the ship's bioorganic relaxation chamber. The living walls pulsed with a soft, content glow that matched their mood. Elijah traced the luminescent patterns along Celia's bare shoulder, marveling at how her skin seemed to shimmer beneath his touch. You're insatiable, Celia purred, her pink eyes gleaming with satisfaction. I have never encountered a species with such stamina. Speak for yourself, Elijah chuckled, pulling her closer. I'm not the one with naturally regenerating energy levels. Their playful moment was interrupted by an urgent alert from the ship's neural interface. Celia sat up, her crest flaring with concern as she accessed the data stream. The Drachnids, she frowned. They weren't after me. Their scan pattern. They were looking for something specific. Elijah propped himself up on an elbow, his tactical mind engaging despite the distracting view of Celia's form silhouetted against the bioluminescent walls. What would they want badly enough to risk violating human space? Celia bit her lower lip, a gesture Elijah had come to recognize as her tell for internal conflict. "There's something I haven't told you." She waved her hand, and a hidden compartment in the wall spiraled open, revealing a crystalline object about the size of a human fist. "The heart of consciousness," she explained, lifting the artifact. It pulsed with an inner light that seemed to respond to her touch. "It's an ancient Lumini relic that amplifies our natural abilities. With this, we can influence entire populations, not just individuals." Elijah whistled low. "No wonder the Drachnids want it. That kind of power could destabilize their entire empire." "It's more than that." Celia's fingers danced over the crystal surface, causing it to project a holographic star map. "The heart doesn't just amplify our abilities. It can transfer them to any species." The implications hit Elijah like a quantum torpedo. "Including humans?" "Especially humans." Celia turned to him, her eyes intense. "Your natural resistance to our powers, combined with your species' remarkable adaptability, the potential is unprecedented." Elijah reached out to touch the artifact, but Celia pulled it away playfully. Not yet, my delicious human. The transfer requires intimate contact." Her free hand traced the contours of his chest. "Very intimate contact." "You mean like what we've been doing?" Elijah raised an eyebrow, his body already responding to her touch. "Much more intense," she breathed, leaning closer. "A complete melding of minds and bodies. The kind of connection that could change both our species forever." The ship suddenly shuddered, and new alerts flashed across the neural interface. "Multiple Drachnid signatures detected," the ship's AI announced. "They've tracked the artifact's energy signature." "Perfect timing," Elijah muttered, reluctantly rising. His tactical suit materialized around him, responding to the ship's threat assessment. "We need a plan." Celia donned her revealing bodysuit with fluid grace, the material flowing over her green skin like liquid shadow. "I have one, but you're not going to like it. Try me. We need to complete the transfer before they reach us. Right now." Her pink eyes glowed with urgency and desire. "The resulting energy surge will temporarily disable their tracking systems." Elijah's pulse quickened at the suggestion. "And the fact that it requires another intimate encounter has nothing to do with your enthusiasm." "Can you blame me?" Celia pressed against him, her body fitting perfectly against his. "Your species' physical attributes are most impressive, and I've only begun to explore them." The ship's warning systems blared again, but neither of them moved to respond immediately. The tension between them crackled like static electricity. "How long do we have?" Elijah asked, his voice husky. 20 minutes until they're in weapons range." Celia's fingers found the seams of his tactical suit. "More than enough time if we're efficient. And this transfer, it's safe?" "Relatively." Her smile was both seductive and mischievous. "Though I should warn you, the pleasure can be overwhelming." Elijah caught her wandering hands, holding them firmly. "You're not just using this as an excuse, are you?" "Would it matter if I was?" She leaned in, her lips brushing his ear. "The threat is real, Commander, but so is my desire for you. The heart simply gives us a convenient excuse to indulge both our duty and our other interests." The ship's lighting dimmed automatically, and the walls began to pulse with a rhythmic pattern that seemed to match their accelerating heartbeats. The heart of consciousness glowed brighter, responding to their growing passion. 15 minutes to intercept," the ship's AI announced discreetly. "Plenty of time," Celia whispered, pulling Elijah toward the artifact's pedestal. "Ready to save the galaxy and experience pleasure beyond human comprehension?" "When you put it that way," Elijah grinned, surrendering to her embrace. "How can I refuse?" The power transfer ritual with the heart of consciousness exceeded all expectations. As Elijah and Celia lay catching their breath, the artifact pulsed with an intensity that filled the chamber with prismatic light. Their combined energy signature had created something unprecedented, a perfect fusion of human resilience and Lumini psychic potential. That was... Elijah struggled to find words adequate to describe the experience. "Beyond extraordinary," Celia finished. her green skin glistening with a post-ritual glow. Your human physiology amplified the transfer beyond anything in our historical records. Before they could fully process what had happened, the ship's neural interface erupted with alerts. The approaching Drachnid fleet had vanished, replaced by something far more imposing. A massive vessel that seemed to bend space itself around its crystalline hull. "By the first light," Celia whispered, her crest flaring with recognition. "That's an eternal architect ship. They're supposed to be extinct." The massive vessel's presence seemed to resonate with the heart, causing it to emit a harmonic pulse that sent waves of pleasure through both their bodies, an echo of their recent intimate connection. "Friends of your?" Elijah asked, trying to maintain focus despite the distracting sensations. "The eternal architects created the heart billions of years ago," Celia explained, unconsciously pressing closer to him. "They seeded the galaxy with psychic potential, hoping to guide evolution toward higher consciousness. My species was one of their experiments. A transmission cut through their defenses like they didn't exist. The holographic figure that appeared was humanoid but composed of pure energy, its form shifting between masculine and feminine aspects. The joining is complete," it announced in a voice that seemed to bypass their ears and speak directly to their minds. "After eons of waiting, a suitable pair has finally achieved true synthesis." Elijah instinctively pulled Celia behind him, though he knew it was a futile gesture against such an advanced being. "What do you want?" "Want?" The entity's laugh sent shivers of pleasure through them both. "We want what we have always wanted, to witness the next step in evolution. Your union was not random, children. The heart has been calling to compatible souls across the cosmos, seeking the perfect combination of attributes." "Nah." Celia's fingers intertwined with Elia's, their shared intimate energy still crackling between them. "You engineered this? My attraction to him? The intensity of our connection?" "We merely provided the potential," the being corrected. "The passion, the desire, the choice to act on it. That was all yours. Humans possess a unique resistance to psychic manipulation, while Lumini have unparalleled psychic potential. Together, we create something new," Elijah finished, finally understanding. The constant pull he felt toward Celia, even after her hypnotic influence faded, suddenly made sense. Indeed, the entity's form stabilized into a more definitively feminine shape. "The child you will conceive will be the first of a new species, one that combines the best attributes of both lineages." Celia's hand instinctively moved to her abdomen, her pink eyes wide. "Child? But we've only just—" "The ritual completed the biological compatibility process," the entity explained. "Your intimate encounters have already initiated the conception. The heart's energy ensures genetic stability." Elijah turned to Celia, his expression a mix of shock and something deeper. "Are you okay with this?" To his surprise, she laughed, the sound full of joy rather than concern. "Okay?" "Elijah, my people have dreamed of achieving this level of evolutionary advancement for millennia, and to achieve it through such pleasurable means." Her eyes glowed with renewed desire. "I couldn't be more than okay." The entity's form rippled with approval. "The heart will remain with you, helping to stabilize the pregnancy and guide your continued evolution. But be warned, others will sense its power, especially now that it's fully activated." "The Drachnids," Elijah remembered. "They'll be back." "Let them come," Celia said fiercely, her bodysuit rippling with her emotional energy. "We have something worth protecting now." The entity began to fade. "We will watch your progress with great interest. The child you create will be the first of many, a bridge between psychic potential and physical resilience. Guard it well." As the massive ship disappeared into hyperspace, Elijah and Celia found themselves alone again, the heart pulsing softly between them. "So," Elijah said after a moment, "no pressure or anything, but apparently we're about to become parents to a new species." Celia's response was to pull him into a passionate kiss. When they finally parted, her eyes were glowing with both mischief and desire. "The entity said we need to continue evolving. Should we practice some more?" "What about the Drachnids?" "The ship's sensors show we have at least an hour before they regroup," she purred, her bodysuit already beginning to dematerialize. "Besides, I need to ensure my human toy is properly motivated for the challenges ahead." Elijah grinned, surrendering to their mutual attraction. Well, when you put it that way. 2 weeks after their encounter with the Eternal Architect, Elijah noticed subtle changes in Celia. Her natural glow had intensified, and her psychic abilities seemed sharper. The pregnancy was progressing faster than either human or Lumini norm, though not alarmingly so. The heart is stabilizing the genetic fusion, Celia explained, lounging in the bioorganic chamber, while Elijah massaged her shoulders. Our child's development is accelerated, but perfectly controlled. Any other changes I should know about? Elijah asked, his fingers working out a knot in her green skin. Celia leaned back against him, her bodysuit shifting to accommodate the contact. My attraction to you has increased tenfold. Is that a significant enough change? Considering how insatiable you were before, Elijah teased but was cut off by the ship's urgent alert. Multiple Drachnid vessels detected, the AI announced, calculating 47 warships entering weapons range. They sprang into action, though not before Celia stole a quick, passionate kiss. For luck, she winked, her pink eyes glowing with both desire and determination. The tactical display showed the Drachnid fleet arranging itself in an attack formation. Their flagship alone was 3 times the size of Celia's vessel. They're not here just for the heart anymore, Elijah observed, his tactical suit materializing. They want to eliminate the threat of our child before it's born. Then they'll have to get through us first. Celia placed the heart of consciousness into a central console, where it merged with the ship's systems, ready to show them why humans and Lumini make such an explosive combination. The first volley from the Drachnid fleet lit up space like artificial stars. Elijah and Celia moved as one, their neural link with the ship allowing them to dance through the barrage with impossible grace. Their weapons are targeting the heart's energy signature, Celia reported, her crest flaring with tactical data. But they don't realize, we are the heart now, Elijah finished, understanding flowing through their connection. The ritual hadn't just transferred powers, it had fundamentally linked them to the artifact's energy. A massive blast rocked their ship, but the biological hull absorbed and redistributed the impact. Celia stumbled and Elijah caught her, their bodies pressing together in the heat of battle. The baby, he said worriedly, feeling a pulse of energy from her abdomen. Is helping, she grinned, placing his hand on her stomach. Through their connection, Elijah felt it. Their unborn child was somehow amplifying their abilities, creating a 3-way synergy that made their ship nearly untouchable. Impossible? The Drachnid commander's voice crackled over their comm. No single vessel can withstand this level of assault. You're not fighting a vessel, Celia responded, her voice carrying the harmonic resonance of their combined power. You're fighting evolution itself. Elijah guided their ship into an attack pattern that should have been suicidal, diving straight into the heart of the Drachnid formation. But with their enhanced connection, they could predict and avoid every shot before it was fired. The heart's energy is building, Celia warned, her body trembling against Elijah's. We need to release it. Like before, he asked, already pulling her closer. Not exactly, she smirked, even as another blast rattled their ship. But equally pleasurable. Trust me, always. Their lips met as Celia initiated a modified version of their earlier ritual. This time, instead of transferring power between them, they channeled it outward through the ship's systems. The resulting wave of psychic energy swept through the Drachnid fleet like a tsunami of consciousness. When it was over, 47 warships hung motionless in space, their crews temporarily locked in a blissful trance. That was Elijah breathed heavily, still holding Celia close. She agreed, nuzzling his neck. And the baby enjoyed it too. Feel? She guided his hand back to her abdomen, where a distinct flutter of movement could be felt. They're retreating, Elijah noted as the Drachnid ships began to withdraw, their crews clearly shaken by the experience. Think they got the message? That humans and Lumini are stronger together than apart? That our child represents the next step in both our species' evolution? Celia's eyes sparkled with mischief. Perhaps we should send them another reminder, just to be sure. You're insatiable, Elijah laughed, but didn't resist as she pulled him toward their chamber. I'm pregnant with a rapidly developing hybrid child who's enhancing both our abilities, she corrected. Besides, you love it. That I do, he admitted, catching her in another passionate kiss. That I definitely do. A month after the Drachnid battle, Elijah and Celia's life aboard the biomechanical ship had fallen into a passionate routine. Her pregnancy was progressing smoothly, the slight swell of her abdomen now visible beneath her adaptive bodysuit. The heart of consciousness maintained its vigilant watch over their developing child, its gentle pulses synchronizing with both their biorhythms. "Your scent has changed," Elijah noted one morning, nuzzling Celia's neck as they monitored the ship's systems. "It's more intoxicating. Pheromonal adaptation," she explained, leaning into his touch. "My body is naturally adjusting to maximize our compatibility. The pregnancy is enhancing everything, including our mutual attraction." Before Elijah could respond, multiple ships emerged from hyperspace around them. Unlike the aggressive Drachnid vessels, these were elegant crystalline structures that seemed to dance with starlight. "The collective of ascended species," Celia breathed, her crest flickering with recognition. "They haven't been seen in this galaxy for millennia." The incoming transmission carried no video, only a chorus of harmonious voices speaking as one. "The ripples of your union have reached across the cosmic web. We come to witness and protect." Elijah kept one arm protectively around Celia while accessing tactical data with his free hand. "Protect us from what?" "From those who fear change," the voices responded. "Your child represents more than mere genetic fusion. It is a catalyst for galactic evolution." Celia's hand found Elijah's, intertwining their fingers. "The Drachnids weren't the only ones monitoring us. Many eyes have turned toward your light. Some seek to nurture, others to extinguish. We offer sanctuary among the stars." "And what's the catch?" Elijah asked, his tactical training making him suspicious of too generous offers. A shimmer of what might have been amusement colored the collective voice. "The human trait of cautious skepticism, one of many qualities that make your species an ideal component of this evolutionary step. We seek only to observe and protect, not to interfere." As if to demonstrate their power, the crystalline ships created a defensive formation around Celia's vessel, their energy fields harmonizing with the heart of consciousness. "Your child grows strong," the collective observed. "The fusion of human resilience and Lumini's psychic potential progresses perfectly. But there are unexpected developments?" Celia straightened, concern flickering across her features. "What kind of developments?" "Your intimate bond continues to evolve. Each passionate encounter strengthens not just your physical connection, but your genetic compatibility. The child adapts and incorporates these improvements in real time." Elijah felt Celia's pulse quicken against his palm. "Are you saying our activities are actively benefiting the baby?" "Indeed. Your mutual desire serves a higher evolutionary purpose. The pleasure you share shapes the future of both your species." Celia turned to Elijah with a wicked gleam in her pink eyes. "Well, if it's for evolution..." "Your enthusiasm for genetic improvement is admirable," the collective commented, causing both of them to blush. A new alert drew their attention. The ship's sensors detected unusual energy patterns forming at the edge of the system. "The Preservers approach," the collective announced. "They believe all species should remain pure, unchanged by integration. They will seek to prevent this evolution." "How many?" Elijah asked, shifting into tactical mode while still maintaining physical contact with Celia, their connection too precious to break even in potential combat. "Their entire fleet moves against you, but do not fear. We shall shield you while you continue your evolutionary progress." Celia's bodysuit rippled with anticipation. "They're being serious, aren't they? About our intimate moments affecting the baby's development? The pleasure you share creates unique energy patterns that the heart of consciousness weaves into your child's genetic matrix," the collective explained. "Each encounter strengthens this integration." Elijah grinned. "So what you're saying is, we should focus on our personal activities while you handle the Preservers." "Your understanding is accurate, Commander Steele. Your contribution to evolution is best served in private celebration of life." Celia was already pulling Elijah towards their chamber, her green skin flushing with desire. "Who are we to argue with advanced beings? The Preservers will be occupied by our defenses for approximately 6 hours, the collective informed them. "We suggest you make efficient use of this time." 6 hours? Elijah raised an eyebrow at Celia. "Think that's enough time for proper evolution?" "We'll have to be very thorough," she purred, her bodysuit already beginning to reconfigure. "For science, of course." Of course," he agreed, following her lead. Can't let evolution down. The last thing they heard before the chamber door sealed was the collective's parting message. Your dedication to species advancement is commendable. We shall ensure you remain undisturbed. 3 months into Celia's accelerated pregnancy, the changes were unmistakable. Her natural glow had intensified to an almost ethereal radiance, and her connection to both Elijah and the heart of consciousness had deepened beyond mere physical attraction. The biomechanical ship had adapted to her condition, creating a specialized birthing chamber that pulsed with anticipation. The baby's energy signature is stabilizing, Elijah observed, monitoring the heart's readings while Celia rested against him. Her revealing bodysuit had modified itself to accommodate her growing belly, somehow becoming even more alluring in the process. He's strong, Celia smiled, guiding Elijah's hand to feel the powerful movements within, like his father, and just as demanding of my attention. The collective's crystalline ships maintain their protective formation, their presence a constant reminder of both their safety and the significance of their union. The preservers had retreated after their failed attack, but intelligence suggested they were gathering allies for a final attempt to prevent the birth. Your child approaches readiness, the collective's harmonious voice announced. The convergence of human and Lumini genetics has created something unprecedented. Celia shifted in Elijah's embrace, her pink eyes glowing with a mixture of maternal pride and seductive mischief. We've been very thorough in our genetic contributions. Indeed, the collective replied, a hint of amusement in their collective voice. Your enthusiasm for ensuring optimal DNA fusion has not gone unnoticed. Elijah grinned, remembering their many contributions to evolution over the past months. Well, when advanced beings tell you that intimate contact improves genetic compatibility, a sudden surge of energy from the heart interrupted their playful banter. The artifact's crystalline surface began pulsing with an intense rhythm that matched Celia's accelerating heartbeat. The final phase begins, the collective announced. The child requires one last genetic fusion before birth. The timing is crucial. Celia's bodysuit rippled with anticipation as she turned to Elijah. Hear that, Commander? One last mission-critical task. The fate of evolution rests in our hands, Elijah agreed solemnly, though his eyes sparkled with desire. We should probably get started right away. The ship's lighting dimmed automatically, and the walls of their chamber began emitting a soft, harmonious resonance that seemed to heighten every sensation. The heart's energy field enveloped them, creating a cocoon of intimate privacy despite the collective's protective presence outside. Your mutual attraction has grown stronger with each encounter, the collective observed. This final union will seal your genetic bond permanently. You mean we'll be stuck with this overwhelming desire for each other forever? Celia asked, her fingers tracing the contours of Elijah's tactical suit. How terrible. A sacrifice we'll have to make, Elijah replied, pulling her closer. For evolution, of course. Of course, she agreed, her crests glowing with anticipation. Though I should warn you, Lumini females are particularly demanding during the final phase of pregnancy. More demanding than usual? Is that even possible? Their playful banter was interrupted by a massive energy surge that rocked the ship. The collective's voices rang out in alarm. The preservers have returned. Their numbers have grown exponentially. Elijah started to move toward the tactical station, but Celia held him firmly. Don't you dare leave now. The baby needs this final connection more than we need to fight. But the attack! The collective will protect us, she insisted, her eyes glowing with an intensity that rivaled the heart itself. Right now, you have more important duties to attend to, Commander. The collective's voice confirmed her words. We shall handle the preservers. Focus on completing the genetic bond. The child's successful birth takes priority over all else. Another explosion rocked the ship, but within their private chamber, wrapped in the heart's protective field, Elijah and Celia were lost in their own world of passion and purpose. Their intimate energy merged with the artifact's power, creating waves of pleasure that seemed to ripple through space itself. The child's signature is reaching critical harmonics, the collective reported. The genetic fusion is nearly complete. Outside their sanctuary, a massive space battle raged between the forces of evolution and stagnation. But within their chamber, Elijah and Celia were creating something far more powerful than any weapon. The next step in both their species' development, conceived and nurtured in passion, protected by advanced beings, and about to change the galaxy forever. The massive battle raging outside their ship reached its crescendo just as Celia's labor began. The heart of consciousness pulsed with unprecedented energy, synchronizing with their final intimate bond and their child's imminent arrival. "The timing is perfect," the collective announced. "The birth coincides with the galactic alignment. Maximum evolutionary potential achieved." Elijah held Celia close as another contraction rippled through her. Her bodysuit had adapted into a birthing configuration, while still maintaining its characteristically alluring design. Even in labor, she managed to look seductive. "You're still thinking about how attractive I am?" Celia laughed, picking up his thoughts through their enhanced connection. "Typical human male. Typical human male who's about to be a father," he corrected, kissing her forehead. "To the most extraordinary child in the galaxy." A massive explosion rocked their ship as the preservers launched their final assault. The collective's defensive formation held, but the strain was evident in their harmonious voice. "The child must be born now. The convergence cannot wait." Celia's eyes suddenly widened. "Something's happening. The baby. He's responding to the battle." The heart of consciousness flared with brilliant light, and a wave of energy emanated from Celia's body. Elijah felt their child's consciousness reach out through their shared connection, touching not just them, but extending beyond their ship. "Remarkable," the collective breathed. "The child is initiating a galaxy-wide evolutionary cascade." Through their neural link with the ship, Elir and Celia witnessed the impossible. Their son's emergent consciousness was reaching out to every compatible species in range, sharing the gift of their genetic harmony. Humans and psychically gifted races across the galaxy began experiencing spontaneous awakenings of latent potential. The preservers, Elijah noticed, they're changing. Indeed, the enemy fleet had frozen in the space as their crews underwent rapid evolution, their resistance to change dissolving in the face of undeniable progress. The heart's energy merged with their child's influence, turning the battlefield into a cradle of transformation. "Push, my love," Elijah encouraged, supporting Celia as the final stage began. "Our son is already changing the universe, and he's not even born yet." With a final surge of energy that lit up the entire sector like a newborn star, their child entered the world. He was perfect, green-tinted skin that shifted to a more human tone in the light, a small crown of crystalline crests, and eyes that shifted between deep brown and luminescent pink. "He's beautiful," Celia breathed, cradling their son as her bodysuit reconfigured to facilitate nursing. "And so strong." The baby opened his eyes fully, and a wave of pure love washed over his parents. Without any training, he was already communicating telepathically, sharing his feelings of safety and joy. "The evolutionary cascade is stabilizing," the collective reported. "Compatible species across the galaxy are adapting, finding their own perfect balance between physical and psychic potential." The preservers have joined the collective, their resistance transformed into understanding. Elijah couldn't take his eyes off his family. "I suppose this means no more need for hypnotic seduction?" Celia's laugh was like music. "Oh, my dear commander, don't think you're off the hook that easily. Our son needs siblings after all. The galaxy's evolution isn't complete yet. The heart of consciousness has permanently bound you," the collective confirmed. "Your mutual attraction and compatibility will only grow stronger. The universe requires many more of your genetic contributions." "Well," Elijah grinned, pulling Celia and their son closer, "if it's for the good of the galaxy." "Always so selfless," Celia teased, her eyes promising future pleasures once she recovered. "My perfect human toy turned perfect life partner." Their son made a happy gurgling sound, his tiny crest glowing with contentment. The heart of consciousness pulsed in harmony with his every breath, its ancient purpose finally fulfilled. "What shall we name him?" Elijah asked, touching one of the baby's tiny hands. "In my language, there's a word that means bridge between stars," Celia suggested. "It seems fitting." "Perfect," Elijah agreed, kissing them both, "though we should probably give him a human middle name, something to reflect his warrior spirit." "As long as it's not too militant," Celia smiled. "He may have been conceived through seduction and born in battle, but he's brought peace to the galaxy." The collective's ships arranged themselves in a ceremonial formation around their vessel. The child will be celebrated across the cosmos, His birth marks the beginning of a new age of unity and evolution. Speaking of evolution, Celia purred, her bodysuit rippling suggestively. How long until I'm recovered enough for more genetic contributions? Elijah laughed, holding his family close as their ship set course for their next adventure. Insatiable as always, my love. You wouldn't have me any other way, she winked, their son sleeping peacefully between them as the stars beckoned with endless possibility.